I walked into the kitchen and saw Monica sitting at the table, the glow of her phone screen reflecting off her pale skin. Her fingers tapped away, and she had this faint smile that made my stomach twist. A cup of coffee sat untouched beside her, long gone cold. She didn't even notice me at first. "Long day?" I asked, but she didn't look up. "Mm-hmm," she muttered, her thumb still dancing across the screen. I poured myself a glass of water and leaned against the counter. "Who's got you so entertained?" Monica flinched just slightly before locking her phone and placing it face down on the table. "Oh, no one. Just Brian's dad. You know, the one whose kid plays with Tommy." She offered a smile, but it didn't feel real. I frowned. "Brian's dad? Why are you texting him?" "He just asked about setting up another playdate," she said quickly, her voice too casual. "We were going over details, that's all." I stepped closer, my chest tightening. "Details? You were sending hearts and—" I trailed off, feeling my jaw tighten. "Who sends hearts to organize a playdate?" Her face flushed. "Oh, Brad, come on, it's just polite. Everyone uses those now. It doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't mean anything?" My voice rose slightly, but I caught myself and exhaled slowly. "Monica, be honest with me. Is there something going on?" Her eyes flashed with indignation, but her hands trembled as she reached for her coffee cup. "I can't believe you're accusing me of something like that." She took a sip, avoiding my gaze. "I'm not accusing," I said, but even I didn't believe it. "I'm just asking. You've been glued to your phone for weeks. You don't even look up when I get home anymore." Monica set the cup down with more force than necessary. "I'm home all day, Brad. I'm with Tommy all day. I don't get to talk to adults. Social media and texting. It's how I stay sane." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to suppress the gnawing feeling in my stomach. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. After all, this was Monica, quiet, shy Monica, who blushed when strangers spoke to her and still held my hand during thunderstorms. But something felt off. "All right," I said finally, stepping back. I need you to be honest with me. If there's anything I should know, tell me now." Monica looked at me, and for a brief moment I thought I saw guilt flicker in her eyes. But then she straightened, her lips pressed together in determination. "There's nothing, Brad. I promise." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But as I kissed her forehead and retreated to the bedroom, I couldn't shake the feeling that the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew, was keeping something from me. And I was afraid of what it might be. Monica was always the quiet type. She didn't dream big or chase ambitions. She was content with routines, with keeping our home clean and raising Tommy. She liked predictability and safety. That's what she always said, at least. She didn't want much from life, just a family and stability. I thought it was refreshing. When we first met, she admitted she'd never even been to a big city until we moved here. That amazed me, but it also made me feel like I could give her something. Structure, purpose, a life that felt secure. She wasn't one of those women who needed more. That's what I loved about her. Or so I thought. I saw myself as the provider. I worked long hours as a lawyer, pouring everything into my career. My parents always said a man's job was to build a foundation, and I took that seriously. When they introduced me to Monica, she felt like the missing piece, a wife who would take care of the home while I took care of everything else. And I did take care of everything. I made sure we had a nice house, good schools for Tommy, and vacations to talk about. I sacrificed time and energy because that's what a good husband does. I wanted Monica to be proud of me. I wanted Tommy to grow up knowing his dad worked hard. I thought I was doing well, but maybe I missed something. Maybe I saw what I wanted to see, a wife who needed me, who relied on me, who felt safe because of me. It worked. For a while, it worked. Until he appeared. I don't even know when it started. That's what keeps me up at night, thinking back over the months, maybe even years, and trying to pinpoint the moment everything shifted. Was it after Tommy was born? Was it when I took on more cases at work? Or was it something else entirely? Something I never even noticed. Then I started remembering things. The night she came home late from her parents' meeting. Her hair was slightly tousled, her cheeks flushed. She smiled too much, talked too fast. I asked her how it went, and she brushed it off, said her mom had been feeling emotional about something. I believed her. And then there was the sudden urge to explore the city, the same city she once said she had no interest in. She wanted to walk through parks, visit museums, try new restaurants. At first I thought it was great. I even encouraged it, proud that she was opening up to new experiences. But now it felt less like curiosity and more like an excuse. I couldn't sit with it any longer. I grabbed my phone and scrolled to Monica's friend Alice. Alice knew everything about Monica. Always had. If something was going on, Alice would know. I hit call and held my breath. Alice, it's Brad. I need to ask you something about Monica. Alice suggested we meet in person. She said it would be better than talking over the phone, and I agreed. I needed to see her face, to read her expression as she told me what she knew. We decided to meet at a quiet cafe near my office. I arrived early, still hoping, desperately hoping, that I had overreacted, that Alice would laugh and tell me I was imagining things. But when she walked in, all those thoughts evaporated. Alice looked stunning. She wore a fitted dress that accentuated her figure, her hair styled in loose waves. I couldn't remember ever seeing her like this before. For a split second, I found myself noticing her beauty in a way I hadn't allowed myself to before. Then guilt hit me like a slap. I was married. I forced myself to focus, but Alice caught the look in my eyes. Her lips pressed into a tight line as she sat down across from me. "Brad," she said softly, her tone carrying both sympathy and hesitation. "You don't look good." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. "I haven't felt good in weeks, Alice. Just tell me what's going on. I need to know." She hesitated, her eyes flickering toward the window like she was looking for an escape. "I'm not sure where to start," she said, folding her hands on the table. "But I think you already know. You just don't want to believe it." I gritted my teeth. "Start at the beginning." Alice nodded, and her voice softened. "Monica's been restless for a while. She told me she felt invisible, like she was stuck in a role she never really wanted, but was too afraid to leave." "Invisible?" I interrupted. "I gave her everything. She didn't have to work. She didn't have to worry about anything." Alice flinched but didn't back down. "Maybe that's the problem, Brad. She didn't feel needed. She felt trapped." I opened my mouth to argue, but she held up her hand. "Let me finish. I didn't think much of it at first. Monica's always been quiet, but then she started talking about someone she met at the park. She said he made her feel interesting again, like someone actually wanted to know her, not just as Tommy's mom or your wife, but as Monica." I felt my chest tighten. "Who is he?" Alice shook her head. "I don't know his name. She didn't tell me much, but I know she met him more than once. She started dressing differently, paying attention to things she used to ignore. At first, I thought it was harmless. I even encouraged her to get out more. I didn't think she'd—" She broke off, biting her lip, but I leaned in. "Didn't think she'd what?" Alice's voice dropped. "I didn't think she'd fall for him." Her words hit me like a punch. I sat back, trying to process it, but nothing made sense. Monica, the Monica I knew, would never do this. Alice reached across the table and touched my hand. "Brad, I don't think she meant for it to happen, but I think it has." I stared at her, my heart pounding. "How long?" Alice swallowed hard. "I don't know, but it's not new." The walls of the cafe seemed to close in. I felt exposed, humiliated. Alice's hand lingered on mine for a moment too long before she pulled it away. "I'm sorry," she said. I thought you should know. I nodded, but my mind was already racing. I needed to confront Monica. I needed answers, but more than anything, I needed to know if there was still anything left to save. I waited for Monica to get home. The hours dragged, each second stretching longer than the last. My mind raced through Alice's words, the details she shared about Monica's restlessness and the man she'd been meeting. When Monica finally walked through the door, Tommy in tow, she looked normal. Tired, but normal. And for a fleeting moment, I doubted everything. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe Alice had gotten it wrong. But then Monica looked at me and her smile faltered. She knew something was wrong. "Tommy, go play in your room," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Monica's eyes darted toward me as Tommy ran upstairs. "What's going on?" I gestured for her to sit down, but she hesitated. "Sit," I repeated, sharper this time. She obeyed. "Alice told me everything." Her eyes widened, and for a moment she didn't speak. Then her face twisted in anger. "Alice? What exactly did Alice tell you?" "She told me about the man, the one you met at the park, the one you've been seeing." Monica shot up from her chair. "Are you serious right now? Alice is lying." I didn't budge. Why would she lie about something like this? "Because she's in love with you, Brad." Monica's voice cracked and tears welled in her eyes. "She always has been. She's jealous of me, of us, and she's trying to ruin our marriage because she can't have you." I blinked. The room spun, and for the first time I felt completely unmoored. Alice? I thought back to how she looked at me at the cafe, the way her hand lingered on mine. Could Monica be right? "Do you really believe her?" Monica stepped closer, her voice softer now, trembling. "I'm your wife, Brad. I've never given you a reason not to trust me. You know me. You know I wouldn't do this." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But Alice's words still rang in my ears. The sudden walks around the city, the gym, the makeup. It all felt wrong. And yet, I thought of Alice at the cafe. How beautiful she looked, how for just a moment I had noticed. Felt something. And now Monica's accusation sat heavy in my chest, making it impossible to think clearly. "Monica," I started, but I didn't even know what I wanted to say. Her tears fell freely now. "You're seriously going to let Alice come between us? After everything we've built?" I stood, my hands shaking. I don't know what to think anymore. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door before she could say another word. Now I'm sitting in a bar, staring into my drink, my wedding ring glinting under the dim lights. I don't know what to believe. Monica's denial was so convincing, but so was Alice. And that look Alice gave me. It wasn't just pity. I keep replaying the conversation in my head, the accusations, the tears, and the doubts that won't leave me alone. Was I blind to my wife's betrayal? Or am I being manipulated by a woman who might want me for herself? I don't know what to do next. I need advice.